What is going on, Patriots fans? This is Jace back with another edition of Mock Draft Monday here on the Patriots Drive podcast. Today, we're going to do a little bit of a trade for a current NFL player, one that I think the Patriots need to address, and one that's looking like it might be a little harder to address in free agency, and plus with the T. Higgins news. And then we are going to explore another trade down option just to get a little bit more picks because of the assets they will have to get up to acquire this player. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on this mock draft, if you like it or not, what you would like to see the Patriots do differently, or what you'd like to see I do differently. And without further ado, let's jump right into the video. This video is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. At Underdog Fantasy, you can pick higher or lower on 2 or more players for your chance to win 20, 30, or even 1,000 times your money in a single night. The best part about Underdog Fantasy is it's available in 33 of the 50 states. So what are you waiting for? Use code PATSDRIVE and get your first deposit matched up to $1,000 and join the millions of fans who have won on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to download the app on the App Store or go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Okay, jumping right into this video, let's talk about a little bit of a trade. Okay, so I've done one where the Patriots traded down to 12, which I think is a little bit too far. I also did one where the Patriots trade down to 8 with the Panthers, which is a little bit better, but still a little further out of the range. So right now, I have the Patriots trading with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, this is if Shedeur Sanders is available, right? All these are probably dependent on the Raiders, or it's like when I did Carolina, I was like, hey, Tedero, McMillan, maybe they want to get Bryce Young one. This one, or, you know, whoever else that would want to trade up, maybe it's for a quarterback. Maybe the Saints want to trade up from pick 9. Maybe it's for a quarterback. This one's dependent on Shedeur Sanders, right? Vegas could hone in and say, hey, we want him. Let's say Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter go 2 and 3, or maybe 1 and 2, or whatever, however it falls. Shedeur Sanders is still available. So the Raiders trade their first and second round pick to get pick 4, and then we do have to send one of our third round picks back. You're only moving down 2 spots. So, you know, it's very close on the NFL draft evaluations thing. So not moving down too far. You're still going to get an elite player. I have the Patriots trading down and taking James Pearce Jr. Okay, now James Pearce Jr. is one of my favorite edge rushers in this class. You talk about pure pass rushing abilities. I think that it's Abdul Carter, obviously, Mike Green, James Pearce Jr. These guys are freaks off the edge. What they do, how they get to the passer, their athleticism, their ability to bend is insane. James Pearce Jr., 6'5", 242 pounds. He's had 21 sacks the last 2 seasons in the SEC at the University of Tennessee. 55 total pressures this year, which was 12th in college football. He had an 89.4 pass rush grade, which was 15th. He was a first-team All-SEC guy in 2023. This guy has good size. He's 6'5", like I mentioned, long arms. He looks the part. He has the ability to put on weight. Now, that's one of my knocks is he needs to add weight to be a little bit more effective in the run, but his frame, broad shoulders, long arms, he can easily put on, in my opinion, 15 pounds and get to 260 and still keep that explosion. Great athlete. Like I said, his first step off the ball is elite. He's able to, you know, get to the quarterback quickly, step up, try to beat a offensive tackle to the spot. Good bend at the top of the rush to turn the corner, which is similar to Mike Green and Abdul Carter, which is why I like these guys so much. Like, you've seen James Pearce do it at the biggest level. He had 13 sacks in 2023, 8 in 2024. He's done it. He's had 2 good years of production. He's that elite athlete. He's got a good arsenal of pass rush moves. He can win with a rip. He can win with speed. He's done a spin move inside. He can also do speed to power if he has one a couple times and you get an oversetting offensive tackle. So pretty good player off the edge. I think that he needs a little bit of polish in the run game, but I think that he has the ability to do it. He shows a willingness to do it. He can be soft against pullers sometimes, but he has the levers. If he puts on 15 pounds, I don't think it's a big deal. You know, it's a little bit of a concern maybe for a top 5 pick, but a top 10 pick, but Abdul Carter's the same way, right? You kind of saw in his film where it's like, maybe he doesn't have it in the run right now, but those guys had figured out you're drafting this guy for his edge rushing ability and his ability to get to the quarterback first and foremost. So also needs to use his hands a little bit better. If offensive linemen get their hands on him because he has a little bit of a lighter frame. He's not violent with his hands getting him off. That's the same in the run game. He's not, just push or, getting his hands on an offensive tackle or guard and throwing him down. He's just not violent with those hands. So I'd like to see that progress a little bit more. So one comp that I like for him, I think he's Brian Burns. He's plays similar to Brian Burns, a little bit skinnier of a build. But man, what they do in the run game or what they do in the pass game is special. I think there's only a few guys every year that have this type of pass rushing ability. And I think James Pearce Jr. is one of those guys out of the University of Tennessee. So we'll see how it turns out. I still do have Mike Green as my second overall pass rusher. Obviously, he didn't go in this mock draft. I just had already taken Mike Green and talked about him, so I want to talk about another guy because I do think James Pearce is worthy of a top 15 pick. And if Abdul Carter's gone, maybe the Patriots see James Pearce because he's played a little bit more tougher competition than what Mike Green did at Marshall. Maybe they're like, hey, he's done at a higher level. We've seen it for 2 years. Mike Green really only had 1 year of production. Maybe James Pearce for some people is the number 2 edge rusher, and they're like, hey, we just need to add that guy. So then in the second round, I have the Patriots taking Aireontae Ersery, Aireontae Ersery. Sorry, I had the pronunciation guide, and I didn't even look at it when I said it first. So this is a true left tackle out of the University of Minnesota, okay? 6'5", and 3/4, verified. He was at the Senior Bowl, 339 pounds. He has 34-inch arms. So again, it's a conversation, right? This guy has NFL-ready frame. He's not going to need to bump into guard. He doesn't have short arms. He has the length. This guy's a NFL offensive tackle. He started for 3 years at Minnesota. He's had over 2,200 snaps. He's only allowed 3 sacks in his last 2 years for them. Like I mentioned, NFL ready frame, size. That is a hot commodity in this year's class. A lot of these guys that are projecting to be interior offensive linemen played a ton of left tackle in college. That's the same with Ersery, but he's going to stay at tackle because of his length. That's what they're lacking in this class. Guys aren't having that elite length. 34 inches in this year's class is really good length, and that's really good in general. It's not, the best we've seen, but compared to what we're seeing a lot of guys have where it's like right at 33 or 32 and 5/8, whatever it is, 34-inch arms is going to get it done, and it's going to be a left tackle in the NFL. Really good movement in the run game. He's big. He's physical. He's nasty. He finishes his blocks. He plays with that chip on his shoulder. I love seeing that in my offensive lineman. You have to be a tone setter on the offensive line. I love that. And he has good feet, and he's really athletic for his size. Excuse me there. You see this guy, 6'5", almost 6'6", 340 pounds. You're like, ooh, how does he move? Things like that. No, he's fine. He can move. He can move his feet. He can mirror defenders. The one thing that's weird about him, I guess it's not weird, but he does play with high pad level. He does not anchor well. You would think that for a guy his size with his weight, he'd be able to anchor. He plays a little bit high-hipped. He bends at the hips, not at the knees, so he can overextend at times, reaching for defensive ends when they're rushing off the ball. And he also isn't the best with his hands, right? Like, he's a big, strong dude, but he doesn't use his hands very well, like in the run game. He's kind of leaning on guys and just pushing them. He's got to learn to be able to get that extension, use those 34-inch arms, especially in the pass game, to be able to stun defenders, stop them, and not let them get into his chest. But I really like Aireontae Ersery. The main thing is, like I said, is there is not a lot of people at the left tackle position or the right tackle for a matter that I think are projecting to stay at tackle for their career. There might be some guys that will start there, move inside. Maybe they'll bounce around. They got some position versatility, but they're not the true left tackle NFL teams are looking for. Aireontae Ersery is. I think he's worthy of a second-round pick. He might be a late first-round guy because of that exact argument I just said, though, with the lack of length. So here's what you guys probably all came for, okay? The Patriots trade for wide receiver DK Metcalf, okay? What the Patriots have to give up is their second-round pick and a third-round pick. It's the one they got from Atlanta. They get DK Metcalf, and then they get Seattle's third-round pick. So Seattle makes out, they get an extra second-round pick, and they move up, 5 spots in the second to trade away DK, who DK Metcalf right now is a $31.8 million cap hit, okay? Seattle has the most money locked up into receivers of any team in the NFL between him and Tyler Lockett, and then obviously Smith and Jigba, who's still on a rookie deal, but they're going to have to pay him eventually. DK Metcalf, if he got traded The new team would owe DK $18 million. Seattle would save $12.5 million on their cap hit. Okay. So maybe Seattle's like, okay, we need to figure out the quarterback situation first, obviously, right? DK, he's had some really good years. Do we want to get rid of him? Maybe sell him at a point where his value is at the top. Maybe they think he's going to regress. I'm taking a chance on DK Metcalf. We all know this guy. He's 6'3" and 3/8. That's in the 87th percentile. He's 230 pounds. That's in the 95th percentile. He has an 82 and 7/8 inch wingspan. That's in the 98th percentile. He has a 9 and 7/8 inch hand size. He ran a 4.33. He vertical jumped 40 and a half. He broad jumped 134 inches. Those are all in the 93rd or higher percentile. The only knock on DK Metcalf is his lateral quickness, getting in and out of breaks. But he's been a proven guy in the NFL. 3 of his 6 years in the NFL, he's had 1,000 yards. The other 3, he's never had less than 900. So he's been at like 900 exactly, which was his rookie year. He was at 960 something last year. And then the only other year he didn't do it, he was in like the 940s. So it's like, okay, yeah, this guy's been 1,000-yard receiver half of the seasons in his career. The other ones, he's maybe 40 yards shy of it. This is a proven NFL number 1 wide receiver. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the physical stature to be a number 1 guy, and he's a proven number 1 guy in the NFL, which I think would come in and tremendously help Drake May and this offense. The one thing is, Josh McDaniels has never had a guy like DK Metcalf, right? He's never had a true X receiver. They tried to win the Kill Harry, it didn't work. But they have a lot more guys on the inside that I think can make it work with Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk has some versatility that you need to get a bigger bodied receiver like DK Metcalf that can stretch the field and give Drake May options down the field. So I would love adding a guy like DK Metcalf. I think with T. Higgins off of the, I shouldn't say off officially, but most likely going back to the Bengals, there's not a guy in free agency I'd like to sign more than what I'd just be willing to give up for DK Metcalf. He would be a number 1 guy. Chris Godwin worries me with his ankle injury and things like that. DK is still a guy that I would take a shot at and see, hey, he's going to be a restricted free agent after the 2026 class or 2026 season. So you'd get 2 years with him. Let's see what he does. Let's see if he can develop Drake May. That's my thought. You're only giving up a 2nd and a 3rd round pick, but because the Patriots traded down in this scenario, they got an extra 2nd round pick, which I took Aireontae Ersery, and now they have an extra 3rd round pick because of the Matt Judon trade. So now with the 3rd round pick, I have the Patriots adding another pass catcher for Drake May. That's Elijah Arroyo. Okay, this guy was one of the biggest Senior Bowl standouts. 6'4.5", 251 pounds at the Senior Bowl. He had an 81 and an 1/8 inch wingspan, which I think is great for tight ends. He only had 590 yards on 7 touchdowns this year for Miami, but this guy was 1st in yards after the catch per reception amongst tight ends. He was 4th with 8 deep catches for 255 yards amongst tight ends, and he was 2nd with 16.9 yards per reception amongst tight ends. Elite numbers. You get the ball in his hand. He's a mismatch nightmare. He's a really good route runner. He can manipulate defenders and make them, think he's doing an out router. He can break it off. They think that he can do a vertical route, but he's able to, manipulate how they're seeing it. He's really good at changing his speeds, tempoing his routes. He has that good speed and vertical threat, which I think the Patriots are lacking right now with Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's a great tight end possession guy. I think you can stretch the field and create a little more mismatches with a guy like Elijah Arroyo. Good wingspan, big catch radius, like I said, just keeps getting better. I think that he hasn't reached his potential. Now, this dude has been injured for 2 years. In 2022 and 2023, he only played a total of 8 games. He had a left knee injury. So he has had some injury problems, but when he did play a full year, you saw what he did last year. You saw what he's doing at the Senior Bowl. I think this guy's finally, if he can stay healthy, can reach his stride and reach his full potential. So kind of like Colston Loveland too, he's not a ready run blocker. He's probably not going to be put in too much 11 personnel being the only tight end, 12 personnel having to block. 11 personnel, you're going to have to split him out. He's not going to be a hand in the dirt type of guy. So he has kind of a specific role right now, but you can hopefully develop that in this offense. So I really think that he's similar to like a young Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz was a mismatch nightmare. He did some really good things out of the slot. He could also, make things happen with his hand in the dirt. Progressively became a little bit better run blocker, but I kind of like that comp of the Zach Ertz type guy for Elijah Arroyo. So getting a more pass catching tight end that has better size than Jaheim Bell is something that excites me if the Patriots could do that. And then with the last pick, the Patriots' 4th round pick, I have them taking another wide receiver, right? So they get DK Metcalf. Now they take Jalen Knoll. Jalen Knoll's 5'10" on the dot, 196 pounds. That was at the Senior Bowl. He had 1,193 yards and 8 touchdowns this season at Iowa State. He had 14 catches of 20 plus yards or more. That was 5th in college football. He had the 2nd most deep yards, which was targets 20 plus yards down the field. That was 609 yards. He was a first team all Big 12 kick return and punt returner. So this guy adds little special teams value. Okay. Right. A little bit of shiftier guy, really good feet. He freezes dude at the line of scrimmage. He wins with his releases, wins with his feet. If he can get that speed release or, set up a slam by releasing outside and coming in, that's where he wins. He makes himself early and open early and often quickly available. I think that this is a type of guy that Josh McDaniels would love to have in his offense. He gets in and out of his breaks very quickly. He's able to separate when he does that, right? Just getting in and out is enough, but bursting out of there, pulling away from them is really good. This is a natural separator, one of the better ones in the class. Obviously Xavier Restrepo, Emeka Egbuka, Matthew Golden come to mind. He's right up there with those guys. Just how he creates separation looks effortless. It's easy. He's snapping off his routes. He's able to manipulate them too, like Elijah Arroyo can. Really, really good route runner technician type guy. Some of my concerns. For a 5'10" guy to have 8.5-inch hands, which is what he had at the Senior Bowl, that's a concern. The threshold for NFL receivers is 9-inch hands. Now, I said this, there's only been one receiver to finish top 12 in a season in receiving yards that had under 9-inch hands. That was T.Y. Hilton. He did it twice. So you could technically only say one wide receiver. That's been since 2012. Jalen Knoll had a career 7.2% drop rate. He's dealt with consistent drops for the last 2 seasons at Iowa State. That's my concern with this guy. That's why I think he's a 4th round guy. He's smaller. He has smaller hands. He's had concentration drop issues. The threshold is 9 inches. I know some people are going to say the threshold sucks, blah, blah. It's just proven. There's only been one dude that's been a top 12 receiver. So, yeah, I know you're taking him in the 4th round. You're not expecting him to be that. I think he can be a really good 3rd receiver. If you add DK Metcalf in here, hopefully Kayshon Boutte or Jalen Polk continue to develop. You still have Javon Baker. Obviously, you're going to have Demario Douglas and Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne might be on his way out. But in a year or two, you could have, DK Metcalf, Jalen Polk, Kayshon Boutte, and Jalen Knoll in the mix. And then you obviously still have Demario Douglas. So he's adding more of a down the line type guy. You can do that because you added DK Metcalf. So he's a good deep threat, 20 plus yards down the field, but he's not going to give you much contested catches, right? Obviously with the hand size, the 5'10" frame. He's not going to give you that. You're not throwing him jump balls. He's not great with the ball in his hands either. He's a really good punt and kickoff returner, but he's not good yards after the catch wise. It's weird. He's able to get, create separation, but he just doesn't create yards after the catch. That was kind of a weird one for me because you think as a kickoff punt return, you're able to make dudes miss. You're able to, extend the play. It wasn't like that really. So, and then if the cornerback does get his hands, that's a big if on him at the line of scrimmage. He's, with that frame, he's just not good hand fighting. He needs to win with his feet. So a little bit of limited stuff right there because of that smaller frame. So some concerns a little bit more. I love how this guy plays the position. I love how he gets open. I love how he runs his routes. But there's a little bit more, of measurable things that are a little bit of a concern for me. But I would take a chance on him in the 4th round. I'm not saying I would. I would definitely take a chance on this guy in the 4th round because of what you see on the tape, because he's a good, productive football player, those type of things in Jalen Knoll. So I think he's similar to Christian Kirk, gives you a little bit down the field, right? He can, bring you something 20 plus yards down the field. He can give you intermediate success. He can get open right away on a slant route because he's so good with his feet. Just doesn't quite have that frame to be a consistent wide receiver one and to answer all those questions. So, but let me know down below what you guys think, right? Obviously, the big move here is trading for DK Metcalf. You give up a second and third for DK Metcalf. I was able to replenish a second round pick because of the trade down 2 spots with the Raiders. Obviously, guys, if you guys haven't been following this series, I don't like taking, especially right now. I've done 8 of these. I like talking about a lot of prospects, so I'm trying not to double down too much. If the Patriots were to trade down to 6 and somehow Travis Hunter was still there, or Tedero and McMillan, right? In this instance, getting DK, you probably wouldn't take Tedero and McMillan. Maybe Mason Graham falls. Maybe you take a chance at Will Campbell. I've just drafted all those guys already, so I'm talking about other instances. But I do like James Pearce. I think he brings you something in the pass game that not a lot of guys can do. He has that twitch. He has that ability to bend and turn the corner. And he has he has that elite ability to get to the quarterback, which is something that is becoming way more important in the NFL. Not way more important. It's always been important, but you're seeing these teams that have that, 2 or 3 guys that can get to the quarterback. They can play cover 2. They win a lot of football games. Most of the time they can win. They have a chance to win the Super Bowl too. So let me know down below your thoughts on this mock draft, addressing a lot of needs from front 7 on offense and defense to some playmakers for Drake May and the offense. But let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, turn the notification bell on. So when we go live next time, we're doing a mock draft here shortly. You guys will know. So appreciate all the support. And until next time, we will talk to you guys later.